Hello, everyone, and welcome to this exciting kTalk event. My name is Talia, and I'll be your moderator for today. Before we dive in, I'd like to take a moment to introduce Hugo Health Kindred, the organization behind this initiative. Kindred is a patient network where people affected by COVID can come together to learn from one another, connect to their health data via the Hugo Connect tool, and also enroll directly in patient-driven research studies available on the platform. Hugo Health Kindred is not just another health tech organization. We are deeply committed to patient advocacy and providing the technical tools for groundbreaking research, with a unique focus on equity for BIPOC communities and those with disabilities. The research studies available on Kindred are different because the study investigators leading them believe in the power of collaboration and listening. They work directly with communities, ensuring that their voices are not just heard, but are integral in shaping the research and solutions they pursue. Today's event, the BIPOC Guide to Disrupting Research Barriers, is a testament to that commitment. We have an amazing lineup of speakers who will share their insights, challenges, and triumphs in the field of research. So sit back, engage, and let's disrupt some barriers together. Thank you for being here, and let's make this a conversation to remember. And now I'm going to hand it off to the lovely panelists for this event.
Hello. Hi, everyone. My name is Blytha, and I'm honored to be here with you today. But before we dive into this important conversation, I'd like to share a bit about my own story, the story that has helped shape my life and led to the work that I do today. In June 2020, my life kind of took a devastating turn. I was a flight attendant and part-time yoga instructor. I lived a full life of movement and connection until COVID. And then I found myself gasping for air, turning blue, heart racing uncontrollably. And I was turned away from hospitals after hospitals, told to tough it out, and sent home with Z-Pack and Gatorade. I left the hospital parking lot one time after I was being treated in a waiting room that was in the parking lot. And I saw a shirt that said, "I can't breathe." When I looked around, I saw the faces like mine, just Black and brown folks, all waiting and hoping. And it hit me that the system isn't really built for us. It's built to make us all fail. So eventually my COVID led me to being in the ICU. I developed severe neurological symptoms and lost my ability to walk. I had to fight for disability benefits, utilize my family's retirement, and navigate a healthcare system that seemed to be designed to keep me down. But I realized that that's not just my story. It's the story of countless others who face systemic barriers every single day. This journey has been a roller coaster, but it's also been a catalyst for the work that I do as an equity advocate and consultant. It's why I'm so passionate about what we're doing here at Hugo Health Kindred. And I'd like to give a quick overview of Yale Paxlovid for a long COVID trial, a research study that will test whether 15 days of the study drug Paxlovid compared with a placebo can improve the health of people living with long COVID. One possible cause of long COVID is a persistence of SARS-CoV-2 virus long after the initial infection. Paxlovid is an antiviral medication that is authorized by the FDA for a 5-day treatment of acute COVID infection. The research study will also be collecting blood and saliva samples to understand how our body's immune system responds to long COVID. The research study uses online study surveys, the Kindred network, to engage participants in the Hugo Health digital platform to connect clinical data. And the collection of the blood and saliva samples is a convenient place for participants. This type of research study is designed to make participation easy. It's called decentralized. Participants do not need to go to research sites, and this being part of the study can be done from home. Utilizing Hugo Health's digital platform is a way to do research that values people's control over their data and promotes partnership in the studies. The study is co-led by Professors Harlan Krumholz and Akiko Iwasaki, and they are committed to working in partnership with the participants and other researchers. As a person living with long COVID is on the oversight committee for the research study. Everyone who participates in the research study will have opportunities to interact with the investigators and to be among the first to learn of the study's results. The research is being done by Yale. It stands out just not for its commitment to BIPOC communities, but also how it treats people with disabilities. Study investigators are unique in their willingness to listen and learn from everyone, regardless of their background or academic qualifications. We are working together to create a more equitable space in research and in patient advocacy. So as we dive into today's discussion, no, this isn't just a webinar, it's a call to action, and it's a plea to change. It's an invitation for each and every one of you to join us in this mission. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being a part of this life-changing conversation. It's now my pleasure to turn it over to Yashira Hernandez.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yashira Enriquez. I currently work as a clinical operations project manager at Yale, the Paxlovid study that Liza just mentioned. I've been working on the study for about a year now, but before working on this trial, I was not aware that so many people were suffering with long COVID. But now I invested on helping this study succeed so that we can possibly get some help for all those individuals who are suffering. I'm also deeply involved in my community. I'm on the board of 2 non-for-profits, one that focuses on empowering young girls to become leaders and change makers, and the other focuses on finding homes for displaced children. After high school, I went to the University at Albany and graduated with a bachelor's in chemistry. I then got my master's in medical laboratory science from Quinnipiac University. I was on the path to do something great. However, since I did not have many role models in my community that looked like me, I was not sure what that was. So it wasn't after completing my master's that I started working at Mount Sinai as a clinical research coordinator that I found my true calling in research. What always fuels my work is a deep-rooted passion for my community. I'm aware of the historical injustice that people of color have faced in the realms of scientific research, and I feel that it's my job to do my part to change this, to help people like me see the benefit in research and hopefully bridge the gap in health inequities. Throughout my career, I had the opportunity to work in various capacities, from regulatory roles at Mount Sinai to project management here at Yale. These experiences not only have honed in on my skills of quality assurance leadership and cross-functional collaboration, but it has also deepened my commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion in research. Multiple times during the pandemic, it became apparent to me the urgent need for diversity in research. I'm thrilled to be part of that change, especially through my work with Hugo Health Kindred and furthermore with the PAX-LC study at Yale. What excites me the most is the opportunity to bring diverse voices into scientific conversations. I believe that true innovation can only happen when different perspectives are not just included, but actively sought after and valued. The PAX-LC study team, we understand this urgency and are pioneering a study with equity built in from the ground up. We are allowing individuals with busy lives the opportunity to engage in research through this decentralized trial. This allows individuals to participate in the study from the comfort of their home without having to take a day off or to find a sitter to do so. Mostly, all the study procedures are done electronically at your home or at a nearby lab. This is especially important to me because people should not have to choose between going to work or caring for their family in order to participate in research. I come from a family of strong women. My mother and 3 sisters have been my lifelong heroes, fighting through adversity and still becoming the successful women we are today. They have instilled in me the values of hard work, resilience, and never backing down, principles that have guided me throughout my career. So here I am, committed to making a meaningful impact by ensuring that research is as diverse as the community it aims to serve, and ensuring it is accessible to all. I'm happy to be here with you all tonight. Thank you. And I will now pass it on to Cynthia.
Thanks, Ashira. I love this process of getting to know you has been so awesome. And hopefully this is the first of many times that we will be together having these very, very important conversations. I'm Cynthia. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm both honored and humbled to be here with you today because at the heart of our discussion, we are going to be talking about real life impacts. And I'd like to share with you a bit of my journey of my life. And it's a journey that has been both harrowing and transformative, that's for sure, and shapes who I am and the work I do today. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I now call Northern Virginia home. But before March 2020, I was a happily busy person. I ran 2 businesses from home, homeschooled my young son, a little bit of giggling in the background, volunteering at various nonprofits, including Breast Cancer Foundation. I was a woman on a mission to leave my mark in community building. And then came the pandemic. And my COVID infection in March 2020 just spiraled into a life-altering experience. By Mother's Day, I found myself in the ER for the first time, and that visit would be repeated over 30 times through the long COVID. I went from being a super mom to being in the wheelchair, and what felt like overnight. And from running businesses to fighting for my life. I lost 50 pounds in 4 months, and my health deteriorated rapidly. Yet despite all the evidence, I was repeatedly dismissed by medical professionals, told it was anxiety or allergies. The most shocking moment came in my life when I was threatened with arrest by hospital staff while seeking emergency care. That was the turning point for me. I knew I had to be an advocate, not just for myself, but for millions of others who I saw who were marginalized and dismissed by the healthcare system that should be there to help us. And that is why I'm so passionate about our partnership with BIPOC equity agencies, partnership with Kindred. They understand the urgency in finding treatments for long COVID and are committed to working with research teams who are developing studies with equity built from the very beginning. And the Yale researchers collaborate with people of color to advise on how to make things better, ensuring that equity is not an afterthought, but a foundational principle. And this is crucial for removing one of the many hurdles in our already difficult journey as people of color in this country. And thanks to an incredible team of healthcare providers, I'm now able to walk again and take care of my basic needs. But the struggle is far from over. I still face severe food allergies and other debilitating symptoms. Though I am now here with you today, I still experience issues with getting access to care, even as recently as a couple months ago. But I am not going to be defeated. I'm here to fight for health equity and unlock the mysteries of long COVID and other chronic illnesses that keeps millions of us sidelined from society and in the research space, either as participants or as researchers. And I'm here to tell you, your voice matters, your experiences matter, and together we can bring about the change we so desperately need. And I strongly encourage you to join me in creating an account on Kindred, enrolling in Listen Studies, screening for PACS trial. It's so accessible, and it's a great way to show you're participating in trying to make a change in the space in your own way. And I want to thank you for being here, and let's have an awesome time. I will pass this off to Liza.
Thank you. So for our first segment in the conversation, we just kind of want to be casual and get to know each other. We would like to represent ourselves as trusted community members, reaching out to the community from the research side. So let's just get to know each other a little bit more. Cynthia, if you could summarize your research in a tweet, what would it say?
If I could summarize my research in a tweet, what would it say? I think it would say unprecedented doesn't mean impossible. I never thought I would be here doing this level of research without any educational background whatsoever formalized. So I'm doing what I never thought was possible, but it doesn't mean it didn't have to be possible.
I like that answer. Same question. Yashira, if you could summarize your research in a tweet, what would it say?
So it will be hashtag authentically bridging the gap and diversifying research. So for me, before the pandemic, I would always, if I was going to go to an interview, I would straighten my hair because I felt, I want to be presentable. Let me make my hair how it should be presentable. But during the pandemic, I don't know, like something switched. And I'm like, no, this is who I am. This is my natural hair. And this is how I'm going to show up. I'm going to be authentic. And I think that the way you are in life is how you should work and how you should just move in everything you do. So with that, research has to be authentic, work, everything, just be who you are. So here I am with my curls.
I love your curls.
Yeah.
One day I aspire to be on my natural hair journey and have my curls cropped that way. I'm gonna get there. My question for Liza and Yashira is, can you share a moment when you felt your unique perspective as a BIPOC researcher made a significant impact?
Yeah, for me, I'm a patient representative with the NIH, working on their recover studies also. And in some of that, I've been working with developing the clinical trial protocols. So when development, and it's really complicated, but essentially it leads to like, how do we make this accessible to communities? And in one specific location, there are a lot of different types of races. And so I said, well, are you going to put a nurse out? Like if you're going to have somebody go out in the community and take the tests and stuff, is that person going to reflect what the community looks like? Because I wouldn't trust that person. So, and that input is heard in those types of situations and not really thought about unless you are a person of color.
So for me, I grew up and still live in the Bronx. So, and then I also went to school and was educated. So I'm able to, I guess what they call it, code switch, right? Like I can be in a situation and I can speak scientifically to some people, but then when we can say consenting someone from my neighborhood and I need to speak to them in a way that they can understand, I can do that also. So I think that's the biggest thing. I bring that. I'm able to make people feel at ease because I'm just like them.
I love that you pointed out code switching. I think it's a lot of people on this call that resonates with. Next question is, what is the most surprising or unexpected findings that you've come across in your research? Cynthia?
I will answer that two ways. One of the most surprising things that I've come across in research, I want to just do it first as experience, which is that my input like mattered because I don't have a background in anything. And I'm just now reading books on immunology as I'm meeting with the researchers. I get surprised when my input, especially on like a scientific level, makes sense to them and it's surprising and like contributes to their ideas in a tangible way. Like it shocks me and I get scared sometimes to ask, like, oh my God, I don't think I'm dumb. But then the response will be like, oh, actually, that's a great question. And you're right. Like, why are we not thinking about this? So, and another surprising find that I had on a different lens was like just how white research has been and how like comfortably white research has been. Like they'll do entire research of like just all white populations and a lot of you like all white male and how that's like missing a huge part of the picture. Now how okay that was and now we're starting to see change. That was a surprise. I mean, I knew it was white, but it was crazy white.
I'd have to agree with some of your findings also. And we have a video of some content to be played, but real quick, I'd like to add my two thoughts of what has been the most surprising and is how long it actually takes to develop and implement and everything. Like research takes a long time from point A to product that somebody can actually develop, and how fast things have been triggered because of COVID in this space. That's something that's really surprised me. So, Talia?
Yeah, hold on. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
We can't hear it, Talia. I don't know if there's supposed to be
Okay.
sound.
Bear with us just a moment, folks. We just got on a call early, right before, and we're talking about how technology is like both a blessing and frustration.
I mean, there's music for me, so I'm not really sure. It's just music though, so.
Okay, thank you for that clip, and apologies for the sound. On the recording, though, you can check out all the interesting facts that were displayed just then. Moving on to the next segment, I'd like to dive back into kind of some personal conversation. Cynthia, if you weren't a researcher, what would you be doing?
I wasn't a researcher. I wasn't a researcher. I would probably be knee deep in policy and legislation on the police accountability and education reform for communities of color. That's what I was doing before when I got sick and I was working in political campaigns. So I probably would be in that area, but I still would probably end up in research because there's some research that I wanted to do on like how being a police officer like desensitizes people of color over time, especially to participate in Eurocentric and racist behaviors. So I would have probably been like on the psychological side. I definitely had plans to do that. So I think it was just going to happen one way or the other.
And Yashira, if you weren't a researcher, what would you be doing?
So if I wasn't a researcher, I'll be out fighting crime. So maybe an FBI agent, CIA, something like that. I've always been into solving. Maybe I'm just nosy and just want to be into everything. But I don't know. I think I have a knack for intelligence. So I would definitely be fighting crime and saving the world.
I could see that. I could see that. So my question for Liza and Ashira. Can you share a memorable experience of mentorship or collaboration that has shaped your career?
Yeah, mine's fairly easy, and a direct pathway to speaking with you all today is that I got connected with Harlan Krumholz back in 2021 through some research over the internal tremors and vibrations and whatnot that were happening, and then was invited to co-author a research manuscript on that. That then led to more experiences, and then leading to working with Kindred and Hugo Health, and eventually co-authoring some other manuscripts with the work I do with the NIH Recover. So that was a direct influence which shaped my life.
So to piggyback on that a little bit, for me has been also this experience and working with Harlan. He's the PI in the study. And I've always knew I was a boss, right? But this study has really given me the opportunity to showcase those skills and having people appreciate that, right? I could run the study and people value my opinion, and basically I'm able to be the boss that I've always been out loud. And thank you, Harlan, for giving me that power, giving me my power back.
And may I add that Dr. Krumholtz actually, this summer, when I had an incident at the hospital where I was being denied care, actually intervened personally to help me get care. And I really appreciate, he's super busy, being a doctor and a researcher and a business owner. And he really treated it like the urgent matter it was. And it really touched me that he really wanted to be do whatever he could from digitally to make sure that I was okay. And so it's not just that he's doing this stuff for us to help us have opportunities, but he really cares about our lives and really showed up when he didn't have to.
I think it's an important part because we often feel discarded by the system and afterthought, and to find people first off, then researchers, and then doctors and professionals who will take the extra step and go that mile and listen and care is of value. And everyone should know that there are more out there that do that. So make it a little bit lighter. What is your favorite song that mentions science? Cynthia?
This is gonna surprise people because they know that I'm a K-pop fan, but prior to that, I love Jeezy. I don't know why, I do. I feel like his Trap or Die albums are so educational. One of my favorite songs is Recipe by Jeezy. If you haven't listened to it, it was very educational for me, especially a woman growing up in the suburbs, on what Recipe was about. And so, yeah, for me,
Let's see. Mine is interesting. So there is this movie. Let's see. I had to Google it before because I won't remember the name. Short Circuit from the 80s that had this robot, Johnny Five. And in this scene, the robot was like, "I'm Johnny Five, I'm staying alive." And in the background was the song, "I Need a Hero." And somehow that correlation together just reminds me of science and how we're entering automation and AI and robots, and they need a hero and we need a hero, and how science can be your hero. Like, I never imagined science helping me as much as it did in one of my darkest times, and being able to rely on something that I didn't necessarily feel comfortable with, but I needed a hero, and that's it. And I think there's other spaces or other people, and we come together, we can learn to be each other's hero and empower ourselves to be our own hero, utilizing science. And now we'd like to open the floor to any questions.
I have a question from someone submitted earlier that I will read off. The question is, what research is currently being done with long COVID, if any, that has to do with alternative therapies like Reiki treatments? And no one else has any answers on that. I do, coincidentally, thankfully. Do you have any insights in your work, Liza or Yashira, about alternative treatments for long COVID or research being done?
There's several projects being done, and I mean, some that are controversial, like some of the exercise therapies and stuff. I would consider those like non-biologic,
Mhm.
but also things that are using guided meditation apps, breathing techniques, and then the comparison of biologics with additional management and lifestyle tools. Those are all being done specifically to Reiki. Pardon me if I mispronounced that. I do not know that one. So I'm interested to know what you know, Cynthia.
I'll let Ishira answer it first if she has any.
So for me, what I've seen by working on the study, I've just seen a lot of participants or patients that have long COVID have been using a lot of supplements. So different supplements just to hopefully alleviate some of their pain or their symptoms. But as far as anything else, I'll leave that to you experts.
Well, I actually had a recent conversation with Christy Mendoza, and she is a licensed traditional Chinese medicine practitioner and a whole bunch of stuff. She's just a legend. She's been practicing for a long time before long COVID, and she has done sessions with both me, Liza, most of our squad from the BIPOC space of March 2020. And so she's actually working on some research herself. So I know for a fact that an actual licensed practitioner is working on that. I've done sessions with Christy that was like a blend of like Tao calligraphy and some other stuff, which was awesome and amazing. For a person who has severe allergies, I can't ingest any of the supplements that other people can get for relief. And so it was actually super helpful. Like I was very skeptical, but I was like, what more can I lose? So I tried it. And it was great. It was great. So yes, there is lots of research in the pipeline for alternative therapies. Finally, we're gonna have some non-Eurocentric therapies down the pipeline. I think we're finally starting to course correct in that area too, and validating what other cultures and that have thousands of years of history in care in the established research. Other question. Oh, I know a good one. What conspiracy theory would you like to set straight? I'll pick Ishira first because I'm sure she is.
Conspiracy theory about research, you said? Or just in general?
Yeah, I would say around research.
Around
Around
research?
research, or I guess we can do
I mean,
COVID.
I'm a conspiracy theorist, so I
I
believe in
know
all.
you
So
are.
I don't know if I can set it straight. I'm not, may not be the right person to do that.
But that's what makes us good. We're supposed to
But
have.
for me, right, there's a lot of mistrust with research in that based on what happened in the past, like with the Tuskegee trials and things like that. So at least for me, as someone who has been working on consenting participants for the study, I make sure that people know the risk that they're getting involved in, and I don't push anybody. You know, you can sign the consent now, you can sign it later. So I guess the conspiracy theory that people get coerced into research, I'll set that straight just for me. I'm not coercing anyone. This is open. You want to help, join. If not, then good for you too.
Me and Liza were just having this conversation earlier about like, if I don't know what the if I don't know what the researcher is doing, I'm not promoting it. Like if you can't plainly tell me and put in public what I'm sending people out to do, it's a no for me. I'm not gonna tell them why would I do that. No, I'm not. No. So like I think people don't realize how many like BIPOC researchers are out there like during the different processes, and there's a lot of us that's like, nah, we we're not letting that fly on our watch. And so I would say like it's not like, oh, this all these bought and paid for. No, never. There's nothing you could do, never ever in history of never, to get me to be like, you know what, for a little coin I'll just what kind of, nah, ain't worth it for me. So yeah, no, I don't turn a blind eye. I'm like, make it right by our people, or I'm not telling nobody about it. So, what about you, Liza?
I think you bring up a really important point about transparency. Transparency is key to establishing trust, and along with that transparency comes educating myself enough to be able to utilize my own discernment on my best behalf for me and my loved ones in my community. I think there's both sides of that are important to know. I see a question from the chat that I'd like to ask for the panel, anyone. What equitable practices and strategies are built into COVID or other research that we're all involved with?
I think part of that would have to do with like the RB process, the review board process. I actually got my first chance to peer review something, and first of all, I don't know how they found me and why they asked me to do that, but I did it, and so because it was my first time, I didn't know like just how public my comments was going to be, and so I definitely was very honest with some of the things with my feedback, and so the peer review process is really peer reviewed, and when there are things that the peer reviewer disagree with or thinks needs to be highlighted or changed or shifted, it is absolutely sent back to the actual people that are doing the research to like revise or edit. So I learned that very recently, and I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't just like I thought before that it was like, oh, a nice little thing you do to make sure that they did it correctly, not like I like that. So yeah.
Hey, Kitty. Would we like to move on to the next question? By
Oh, I'm curious about your answer actually, Yashir.
Oh, for this one? So I mean, for me, one thing that I noticed is payment, right? Not payment for, but just giving people money for their time. If I have to take a day off, I'm losing minimum wage. I think it's $15 an hour right now. You're losing $15 or more just to leave your job or to take a day off to come to a visit. So payment, I think, is very important, um, as well as paying for transportation. And one thing, like if if I built my own research study, I would put people in Ubers or because right, we also give payment after the visit is done, but we're not taking into account that some people may need the money to get to the visit. They may not have the money for the bus or the taxi. So I think those type of practices, just taking in common. I mean, I grew up poor, so I know what it is to struggle, right? So if you can't make it to a visit, you don't have the money, you're not going to go, you're going to miss it. So just putting into practice certain things that you may have experienced, or just being human and open up your eyes to all possibilities just to make everything easy for everyone.
I think Yashira just had the quote of the webinar today. Open up your eyes. I just want to add a couple of things here. In far as making things equitable, being a person who's just a civilian, you know, like maybe not having a science background and entering a research space can be very intimidating. So having some things that can make it equitable are some of those soft skills, not using terms. I can't remember what that word is, but like everyone's on a first name basis. Everyone has the opportunity to speak, like some of those rules of engagement on communication. I think in a lot of the research that I've done in the research spaces I've done specifically with the University of South Carolina, their COVID engagement studio, which Cynthia is part of, and then I'm also with the University of Maryland Patient Professors Academy. Those are institutions that have done a good job of making us all feel like we're on a level playing field, that we can all participate and our what we say matters.
And for the other question that I saw, I think that's from Rifa, who's my joy and my love. How can white folks on a research team make the environment more welcoming for people of color? That's a good question. Especially when there are few on the team. I definitely think there's a few things. One, run us our points. I will always say that pay us, pay us, pay us. I always feel more welcome when I feel like my time is valuable. So pay me for my time. And always it just makes me feel like, okay, I can settle in. But also I would say regular self audits. So I found that, and with you know this a little bit from our discussion, before I became disabled, I didn't think I had any biases against people with disabilities. But after I became disabled, I was like, wait a minute, why do you think this way? I mean, even with some of the language I use, like different, like again, one was telling me about like the difference between saying wheelchair bound versus a wheelchair user, like those little bits of language matter. And if you can self audit as an individual in that way, to really sit with yourself and say, where I know I've got some hidden biases somewhere, and let me go try to unlearn. If you can get to the area of unlearning before you even get to that team, then you have some key areas of like different authors that are out there that speak specifically to white folk, right? About the areas that are most problematic. Then if you could really like start working, like, actually, you know what, I never thought about that. Do I do that when I talk to people of color? Do I like cut them off, or do I minimize their ideas and those kind of things? I think it's really that introspective work, and just coming into that meeting aware and in that mindset that white people like the center. um just that in itself is going to be a huge um advantage in welcoming people of color. Sometimes it can just, because it's a default, you can't see it, so you have to take that introspective time. You just have to. It's there. The biases are there. And I'm still going to be working on ableism for a long time.
I would say just be real. And this is with white people, people of color, everyone, right? Research is scary. So be yourself, be kind, be, speak in a way that everyone understands. So be transparent. I feel that I'm successful with speaking to participants because you speak to someone for a little bit and you know their vibe, right? So you're just gonna follow their flow, make people feel comfortable at ease. So it's just be human, right? To everyone, people of color or white, disabled, treat everyone with respect. And I think that's how you make your environment welcoming. And also just putting practices into place that it makes the research equitable. Like if I was to do my own Paxlovid study and it would be electronic, instead of giving people the money for, we'll say, for the study, I would give them tablets so they complete the questionnaires, right? Because what if someone doesn't have a tablet? But maybe that's the next study. But yeah, I just think that just be yourself, be authentic, be sweet, and you'll be welcoming, and just be clear. That's it.
I definitely second that. Some people really do be doing the most, and it's very uncomfortable. Like there's a difference between being like cognizant and doing the actual most. And when you're doing the actual most that's out of your character, it feels unwelcoming because we're like, this doesn't feel authentically you. So like there's like this sweet spot of being aware of Eurocentrism and your defaults and leaning to that, but then also overshooting and being like, I love all Black women. Like, like there's some people, every person of color knows that person that they've been with that just does the most. And we're like, I know, I can tell just from how you're talking, you're not used to being around people of color. So please don't do that.
But also being accommodating, right? Like I work 9 to 5, but if someone says they can do a consent at 7, I'll come on 7 and do it with them. Just accommodating. Just work with the people and you'll be good.
And don't have an attitude about it either. Like I hate it when it's like begrudging, like oh, we'll make accommodations for you because we know of your situation. Again, we all know the people who. Anyways, I have written a little bit about this on the BIPOC Equity Agency website on what is it? It's an excerpt from my book. It's like 5 takeaways of how to create more equitable research. If you want to poke around in there and see some ideas of what you could get started on like today and share with others on what they can do so that we're not, when we do have those paid advisory boards of BIPOC patients or diverse patients at least, they're not feeling awkward and uncomfortable.
Yeah, as somebody who's been in a space where, you're like one of two people of color in the room, recognize that I don't speak for every Black person in the world. I think that's something that's like how often we feel that pressure, and it may prohibit us from wanting to enter into that space. And I just make that known, like, and you do some work, and you may have to go ask some other people, and you may have to do some work on yourself too. I'm coming to the table doing some work. So I'd like to ask you guys also, in general, like how can people with disabilities or no education get involved in research?
So I think research, it should be like all consents and all study documents have to be written in an 8th grade reading level. So it should be accessible for anyone who doesn't have an education. As far as the disability goes, I think it depends on the disability. If someone is not able to speak for themselves, then you wouldn't want them in research because they're not consenting to anything that's being done, right? They have to advocate for themselves, and if they can't do that, I don't see how it would be a good idea for them to participate. But other disabilities, I mean, I think I would need specifics to answer that more.
For me, I think in general, it's basically good just to get the information out, so there's not that fear or that inhibition of how do I get involved. So some of the things that we've talked about today, go to Kindred, go to Hugo Health, see how you can sign up, and that's a way to get involved. Go to BIPOC Equity Agency, see what events we're doing. The University of Maryland's Patients Professors Program, University of South Carolina has different patient engagement studios. Keep your ears to the ground, because BIPOC Equity Agency might have his own patient engagement studio one day to participate in. I think there's lots of ways from your home. I know I wasn't able to necessarily utilize a laptop or have my own voice or have control of my neuromuscular functions when I first started in research, and I got support from family members sometime. So there are ways to do it, and there's organizations who are making it accessible to you.
I would like to piggyback off that support. Like it's really important to learn to delegate when you have disabilities, and that it's okay to ask for help, especially for those of us who went so long being fiercely independent, and especially for us women of color who have that added pressure to lift, carry, climb at the same time. It's okay to ask for help, and it doesn't mean you're less than or weaker than or anything or not valuable. But also understand that if you can't operate at that time, it doesn't mean that you're a failure or you're doing something wrong in your recovery either. And you just may need some time to recover and step back, and don't like beat yourself up over like oh, I thought I could do this engagement studio, but I can't. That's okay. Like it's fine. It's you still have value and worth as just as a human, even if you never participate in anything. It's still doesn't matter. Just your being alive is enough contribution to society. So don't have to put all that weight on yourself to even contribute in that way before you're actually ready, because that's going to slow your healing and it's just not mentally healthy. Like, no, take care of you. And then when you're ready. But then also lean on the people around you. You're not a burden. You're a joy and a blessing to be here. So I had to learn that the hard way. Do we have time for another question, or are we going to wrap it up here? We're about 6 minutes out.
You could do another question if there is one.
That's always a good question. Let's see. Ooh, here's one. What would be your dream research project? I will start with Liza, because I think I just asked her something close to that yesterday. No, that was today, earlier today.
Oh man, we talked about like 5 research projects
I know.
earlier today. I am a yoga instructor and I love yoga and I love alternative practices. So I would love to research how yoga helps with neuropsychological issues. And I know there already is research out there, but I personally want to just be able to do it.
That actually makes sense, Ishira. I have a feeling since you like cardiology, that might be the direction you may go.
So I mean, I'm more on the clinical operations side. So my dream research would be for me to have like a mobile research site where I can drive up to a place and have participants join the study through this mobile, um, like a bus that has like an exam chair. It has everything that is needed for the person to complete the study. They don't have to go anywhere. So it's a form of decentralized trial where we take the research to you rather than you coming to us. Doesn't matter the what is being studied, but more so the operations of it.
That could be the study if more participants of color, I'm always thinking about brands and stuff, right? Could participate in, other different diverse set of participants would be able to participate in it if it was mobile versus traditional. You're giving me ideas.
I didn't invent that. There is a bus out there that does this. I'm just biting off the head of it.
All right, well, it's going on the BIPOC Activity Agency list of research structure ideas. That's for sure. I appreciate your contributions. I credit you. My dream research would be, I was just talking to someone about this yesterday. I want to look at how different cultural foods around that have been established to treat when you get sick, the actual science behind it. Because like my son was a little sick the other day, and I was making like this salty drink, and I was like, wait a minute, we need the salt and the electrolytes for dysautonomia, and dysautonomia is a known, not uncommon result of a post-viral illness. Anyways, is it possible? Like we've been developing all these salty soups over time as a way to help with dysautonomia and the recovery, or like I know certain cultures have like ginger, which is anti-inflammatory, and then so that's what I want to do. I love validating culture, and like cultural norms, and like showing the science behind what has been established, and showing that there was actually thought into why those things were there and why they're important to continue. So that would be my person. And I like to eat. So that would be my personal research project. But
I kind of want to ask that question, and anyone in the audience, just drop it in the chat. Like, what do you want to see researched? You know, like, let's ask the people who are dealing with the issues. And you've got 3 people who can take it to researchers.
or do it ourselves. Oh, Christy, oh, hey, you're here. Hi, Christy. We were talking about you earlier. If you were not here to know that we were actually invoking your name. A study that showed which spices inhibited molecular docking of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. Interesting. See, that's right up my alley. This is why I like you, an Indian study. Yeah, because you're gonna have like what, that turmeric. What is it that everybody was on in the first wave? Other than turmeric, there was something else that's like an Indian spice.
Yeah, you normally pair it with curcumin and black pepper.
What is it like? It's like cumin. Thank you for that. I was like what a lot of people were trying, and I went and bought it, but by the time I got it, my MCAS was too severe that I couldn't try it. But it worked for a lot of people. So anecdotal evidence is out there that it did do something. So I'm glad to know that there actually was a study. Thanks for your knowledge, Christy, on the matter. So we're now at closing time. I guess I will start with my remarks, and we're going to close this out. This has been such an awesome experience. First of many. I really want to thank everyone that joined us today. I know some people could not make it that are going to be watching the replay, so hello to everyone later. I hope everyone that watches this leaves feeling empowered and inspired to disrupt research barriers from where you're at in your health or educational or whatever journey present. And at BIPOC Equity Agency, we are committed to demystifying the research process across a wide variety of fields. And we believe that ordinary people can make extraordinary contributions to research, like we're trying to do. If you have any questions or want to learn more, please visit our website, BIPOCEquityAgency.com. Together, we can create a more equitable future for all. And I will pass this on to Liza.
Thank you. And before we close real quickly, I just want to share that my journey with chronic illness has led me to the work that I'm so passionate about, research and advocacy. The research available on Hugo Health Kindred stands out not just for how we treat people of color, but also those with disabilities. Study investigators listen, learn, and collaborate from the very beginning, not as an afterthought. If you're interested in joining this mission, we invite you to become a member of Kindred's COVID Task Force. And we thank you all for your time, and we look forward to seeing you at our next event. And don't forget, keep sending us those research questions because we want to know what you guys want to know. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you guys for having me. I just want to say, be yourself and advocate for yourself at all times, because you are the only person who's going to fight for you. I mean, we're going to fight for you too, but you fight for yourself the best way. So thank you so much for having me. And this is my first webinar. So thank you for making me feel good.
Talia, you want to run this down?
Yeah. Thank you guys. That was an enlightening and inspiring discussion we've had today. On behalf of Hugo Health Kindred and the Yale research team, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to each and every one of you for joining us for this kTalk. Your presence and engagement are what make these conversations meaningful and impactful. We hope that you leave here today feeling empowered and equipped with knowledge to disrupt research barriers and advocate for equity in all spaces. Remember, the journey towards a more equitable and inclusive world is a collective effort, and each one of you plays a crucial role. If you found today's discussion valuable, we invite you to become a member of Kindred's COVID Task Force, where we can continue to push the envelope in research and advocacy. If you're interested, you can contact me at talia@hugo.health. I'll put that in the chat. Thank you again for your time and participation. Let's continue to challenge the status quo and make a difference. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you all.